Ego. It's invisible, yet it controls so much of who we are. It whispers in our ears, telling us we're always right, that others should kneel and we should rise. But what happens when that voice becomes louder than reason itself? Once, in a kingdom surrounded by golden field and shining rivers, lived a young king, proud, powerful, and loved by his people. Yet deep inside, something dangerous was growing, a seed called ego. And one day, that seed began to take over his crown, his people, and even his peace. The young king Orion had inherited his throne at just 21. He was brave, intelligent, and destined for greatness. The people adored him, but soon admiration turned into worship, and worship turned into arrogance. He stopped listening to his advisors. When a farmer tried to warn him about a flood, he silenced him. When an old minister suggested caution, he dismissed him. He began to believe that his thoughts were law and his word, truth. The kingdom slowly changed, not because Arav was cruel, but because he stopped hearing others. Ego, like fog, blinded him, quietly and completely, until one day fate decided to humble the king who thought he could never fall. One morning news arrived. A neighboring land had challenged his authority. His generals advised patience. Their army is stronger, they warned. But Arav laughed. Stronger? No one can defeat me. Blinded by pride, he marched his army to war. For days the battle raged. And then defeat. Thousands of his soldiers were lost. Villages burned, families wept. When Arav returned, the silence of his palace was deafening. The same people who once shouted his name now turned away. In his private chamber, he looked into a mirror, and for the first time he didn't see a king. He saw a man who couldn't control himself. That night, he couldn't sleep. His crown felt heavier than ever, not from gold, but from guilt. Days later, the king left his palace alone. He walked through his ruined lands where once green fields had turned to dust. At a quiet riverbank, he met an old hermit washing his bowl. Arav sat beside him and sighed. "Old man, I've lost everything. My people, my pride. Even myself," the hermit smiled gently. "No, my son, you've only lost your ego. What you have left is you." Arav frowned. "But I was a king." The hermit dipped his bowl into the river. "Look," he said, "when the bowl is full, no water can enter. But when it's empty, it can be filled again." The king understood. He realized his ego was that bowl, full of himself, leaving no space for wisdom or love. He bowed his head. For the first time, he felt peace. Weeks later, Arav returned to his palace. But this time, he didn't enter as a ruler. He entered as a student of life. He listened more. He visited his people, asked about their struggles, and helped rebuild what was lost. When someone disagreed with him, he didn't get angry. He asked, "Tell me why you think so." Slowly, the kingdom began to heal. Crops grew again. Laughter returned to the markets, and the people said, "Our king has changed. He is not the same man anymore." But Arav only smiled, because he knew true power isn't in commanding others. It's in commanding yourself. He had won the greatest battle of all, the one against his own ego. Ego is a strange thing. It makes us believe we're strong, but in truth, it makes us fragile. Because ego needs constant validation. It needs others to agree, to praise, to bow. But humility doesn't need any of that. It stands strong, silent, and unshakable. Remember this. Even the tallest tree bows when it rains. So why shouldn't we? When you let go of ego, you don't become smaller. You become wiser. And people don't follow you out of fear. They follow you out of respect. So, my friend, what did you learn from King Arian's story? Have you ever let ego make your choices for you? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful life lessons. Because sometimes the greatest battles we fight are the ones within ourselves.